Hey there, welcome to Ticker Symbol U's special Ticker Symbol Live episode. Funky to say, but today we're going to be talking about market volatility, right? Market has been super volatile for the last 2 weeks. So what I did this week was I figured I would share my framework for investing with you so you could see exactly how I invest, how my money is tied to the market, and more importantly, how it is tied to my vision of the future. This whole channel is dedicated to clarifying your vision of the future and then forming your investment thesis in it. So what I'd like to do today is talk about a few different things. And I've written myself notes so I don't get lost in my own soundtrack. First thing we're going to do is we're just going to quickly go over the framework that I shared with you this weekend. That framework is the only framework that I found that works for me very consistently, no matter what the market conditions are, right? That framework has a lot of moving pieces, but they're all simple and tied together. They're not easy. They are simple. So I'll walk you through them, and you should walk away with hopefully the desire to start writing down your own pieces of that framework for yourself, taking the ones that work for you and throwing out the ones that don't. I'm a strong believer in doing your own research, thinking critically. And of course, if what I say doesn't work for you, toss it. Every investor is different. And I'm no exception, right? My investment framework is focused on disruptive innovation and advanced technology. So it's not a dividend portfolio building framework. It is not a, healthcare safe value pick framework. It is not anything other than investing in the future of advanced technology or flipping that a future defined by advanced technology and then forming an investment thesis on how to, in some what I think are pretty clever ways, own pieces of the market that are going to have outsized gains because they'll have outsized impacts on our lives. After that, we'll talk about the definition, like where the line between ticker symbol U and ticker symbol live is going to be. Because I manage both channels and they're two halves of a larger strategy, you're free to subscribe to one, both, neither, as it suits your needs. Then we'll talk about the specifics of the market last week, and we'll do that through the dashboards I've designed to explore ARK's data on ticker symbol live specifically, but some of that will, of course, bleed back into ticker symbol U as big shifts happen that are like ARK wide. One example of a big shift that has been happening recently is ARKW has been being reflected more and more in ARKK than ARKG. So ARKK used to be very heavy on genomics, and it still is, but it has become increasingly weighted towards advanced internet and advanced artificial intelligence stocks. One of the big callouts that kind of everyone's noticed is ARK's large increased stake in a company called Palantir. So one of the things I'd like to do tonight is show you that stake in the data, remind you of its place in the ARK ecosystem, in my opinion of its space in the ARK ecosystem, and then talk a little bit about artificial intelligence, which is central to the convergence. And then, of course, I will answer any and every question I can in the chat, and I'll try to do that as we go along. But I'd like to keep this recording up on the channel, so I may save questions for the end. And I promise I'll be succinct, so you should expect questions and answers to come up relatively in short order. So first thing I'll do is I'll stop here and I'll take some initial questions. I see people mentioning Palantir already in the chat. I hear people talking about volatility. Do I think gold will rebound? That's outside of the scope of this channel. Please describe ARK's fund fees. Great. All sorts of great questions that we will address at the end. So first thing I'd like to bring up is my framework. So this is my investment framework. I say the word framework and I mean framework, right? So it's my ethos, it's my philosophy, it's my idea about the world of investing, right? In my mind, I'm not spending $1 until a certain amount of things happen in my head about a stock, right? And very little of that actually involves the stock's price, believe it or not. It starts with a vision. That's that top. So this is it's like an infinite loop on its side is how you can imagine it, right? The top piece is the piece that I focus on first, but you can start anywhere in this loop, right? I start with the vision, and what I'm looking for is I literally just think about the stuff that I use today that has transformed my life. This is a very clear example of something that I use today and has transformed my life, right? So it's like, I'm not talking about on a philosophical level. I mean, literally, like the changes to cars, the changes to drones, the changes to whatever your hobby or passion is, the changes to the way you communicate and work since the coronavirus started, right? Like all these types of things have had a transformative impact on your life, right? At least on my life, for sure. So what is the vision of those things going forward 2 to 5 years? ARK Invest's time horizon is 5 years. You know, I understand that people want to shift their portfolio more than on a 5-year time horizon, or, you know, I should say faster. So I do 2 to 5 years. And that seemed to work out for me. 2 years seems to be that sweet spot where it's far enough in the future that meaningful progress can be made, but near enough in the future that you can still accurately kind of predict what's going on, right? Like, you know what a 2-year-old phone looks like versus a phone today. And it's probably reasonable your imagining of a phone 2 years from now, right? So the way I clarify that vision is just by doing research. That's the next piece of the puzzle. And so all that is literally Googling stuff, YouTubing stuff, live streaming about stuff, answering your questions, asking my own questions, attending other people's live streams, right? Like I have a big Discord community. If you're not a part of that, the link is in the description to this live stream and in every video. And literally I sit there and I ask questions, get answers. I read investor presentations. What I mean by research is literally just research. My number one research source is ARK-invest.com. I read all their white papers, analyst reports, all that stuff, because I believe in their research framework, right? So this channel is very biased pro ARK Invest. So take that as I should be one data point in your investment philosophy, right? You should do your own research. I recommend you include me. Like, you know, obviously I think I have a good shtick, but I have a bias. I'm very pro this one specific fund, this one specific, you know, advanced technology. I'm a one-trick pony. So you should always remember that when you include me in your own research, is I am a biased data point towards advanced technology. So you want to find the bare thesis to what I'm saying here. Why would autonomy not work? Why is artificial intelligence not going to transform the future? Why is genomics struggling, whatever you think is going on there, right? So just remember, I'm very pro those things. So you might want to find somebody who's very not inherently pro those things, right? Always consider your biases is a big one. And then let those things, A, affect your understanding of the thing you're researching, but B, influence your vision of the future, right? So that's that first top feedback loop: dark blue, light blue, gray, and green squares. So hopefully that's clarified, right? Just checking the chat real quick. Lots of things about the market crash. We will get there very soon. I will stop for questions as soon as I clarify all this stuff. So the second piece of that loop is starting from the market. So it starts from the bottom. And what that is okay, there's only a limited number of stocks. There's obviously great things going on in the private sector and in government and all the things we can't trade in, but I'm washing my hands of that because I can't invest in it anyway. So of the technologies that I'm able to invest in, which ones am I noticing increased demand in? And then how are those changes affecting the markets, right? So for example, looking at video game consoles, right? Competition among video game consoles, increased demand in Sony, increased demand in Nintendo, increased demand in Xbox, right? What are those demands increases relative to each other? Who's winning and why? What processing architectures? What cool sneaky things are they doing in the background with their CPUs, GPUs, right? Like their online platforms to reduce things like latency, which is super important everywhere. That should influence your thing, right? That should influence your understanding of the technologies you choose to invest in. And then tracking those changes and how they play out in the markets can help inform you of when and where you are in those technological life cycles, right? Like don't invest in, Nintendo right before they announce a new system, because that new system might not be great because they focus a lot on innovation. And we all saw how that panned out with, certain systems in the past, right? As opposed to like the iterative, more safer approaches of Xbox and PlayStation, right? Which is like, you can already guess what the PlayStation 7 is going to look like. You can already guess what the Xbox 7 is going to look like, right? They're just going to be sleeker, you know, maybe bigger, maybe a little smaller, but like, you know, they're going to have two orientations, and like, they're going to be computational powerhouses for the purpose of playing games and sitting in the middle of your living room. With the Nintendo, it's like, you don't know how many controllers you're about to get, right? It's like, so it's pretty cool, but it's inherently a different, innovative machine, right? And that's why I believe ARK Invest holds Nintendo specifically, right? Like, by the way, they have a massive stake in Nintendo. It's a massive position. And then the two halves, the last thing I'll say about the framework before we dive into ARK's data and then talk about volatility and then answer questions, is simply that these two loops work together. So running you through the whole loop real quick, your vision affects your research, right? Determines what you're going to go research. Your research affects your understanding of a specific technology or set of technologies, which does two things. It influences your vision and updates your opinion of fair value of those stocks in the market, right? What is that stock worth to you should be based at least a little bit on your understanding of what that stock is, what technology it rides on, what it's doing in the background, what products and services it represents. And then changes in the market based on demand, right, affect your desire to buy that stock. We would all buy Tesla stock for $1, right? All of us, everyone on the planet should be like, yeah, that's a no-brainer. I don't think anyone would buy Tesla stock right now for $10,000, right? It's a no-brainer not to buy it for $10,000 right now, right? So there's some number in between $1,000 and $10,000 that we all have in our head for what Tesla stock is worth. If that's true, can you defend that number? Like, and how is that number changing over time for you? Does a stimulus check affect that number? Probably not, right? Like, but when the stimulus check affects that stock price, now you're seeing that inefficiency in the market in real time, and it goes the other way as well, right? So that's all we're doing here. We're trying to understand the vision of Tesla through research, getting a better understanding of artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, and robotics, looking at the changes of those trends over time, how they're playing out in the markets. Is demand going up or down? What is my current demand for the stock? And then updating our vision accordingly. That's the framework. Right. Lots of numbers in the chat, and they're all different, and that's great, right? So like, let me just, sure ain't 500, right? Like, so if your number is higher than 500 and that's what the stock's at, you should be buying. But if your number is lower than 500, you shouldn't be buying yet, or maybe you should be selling, right? Like, hey, I'm holding a stock I think is worth less than this. I should sell it, right? Whenever I say stuff like that, just pretend this banner down below is ticking by the whole time, right? So nothing on this channel or any channel I manage, ticker symbol U or ticker symbol live, is financial advice. This is all my opinion, and it's just for your entertainment only. Right. So I will buy, there's a lot of great comments like this going on in the chat, right? I will definitely buy Tesla for $100, right? So I'm right there with you. But I have a good reason why, and I hope you do as well, right? I hope you have a number, and that number is based on what they're trying to accomplish tomorrow, what they're accomplishing today, right? And all that kind of stuff, because you know that's a volatile stock to hold over time. Excellent. So we talked about the framework. Now let's cover last week's ARK action, right? So let me show you the dashboard and see what kind of questions this generates. And I will spend time answering that, and then we can roll right into questions about the market drop, and all that. So I will stop sharing my screen here, and instead I will share this. So this is a preview of the dashboard. This is probably the right view to show it in. So what you're seeing here is, if you're new to the channel, I do a lot of data visualizations in Tableau. Tableau is a data visualization tool owned by Salesforce now. Salesforce used to be in ARK Invest holdings, but no longer, it seems. And it's great for looking at all sorts of like data. So it's an alternate system to doing things in like Google Sheets, for example. It's way more visually oriented. So what I do is every day I grab ARK's data and I look at it for myself to see if I can, be sneaky and say, oh, they're buying a lot of extra X, or hey, they've sold a lot out of Y. And what does that mean for their conviction? So let me quickly walk you through this dashboard, and then we will dive into the specific changes and answer questions as we go. So the first thing you'll see is in this top left, there is a big table. This table shows all of ARK Invest's holdings across all 5 of their actively managed ETFs. It goes down and down and down and down the list. There's probably something like 200 entries in this table. Each row is a stock, and each column is something that we care about, right? So we can see each stock's ticker. We can see the number of shares ARK holds. We can see the change in shares from last week. So this is Friday's data to the Friday before. We're looking at the changes over the last week. The dollars per share, so this is the share price. The change in price over the last week. The number of dollars ARK holds in the fund overall, and the changes in the number of dollars. And then the metric this channel uses to be a proxy for ARK's conviction in a stock. So let me importantly throw up this banner again. I am making the claim that the more dollars ARK Invest holds in a stock, the more conviction they have in that stock. I am making that claim. They're conviction weighted. They're not meant to be thrown together like I throw them together, but because they're all managed by Cathie Wood and they are all conviction weighted funds, I believe the total number of dollars across ARK reflects Cathie Wood's total conviction in that company. I could be wrong. So why I'm saying that is because these last 2 columns show you the total ARK rank. What is that? The ARK rank is, if I was to combine all their funds into one fund, managed by Cathie Wood, conviction weighted, this is what that holding fund would look like. This is a bar chart with a few different colors where each color represents one fund: ARKK, ARKG, ARKW, ARKF, and ARKQ. And the order of those bars tells you the order of her convictions, in my opinion, right? That's the ARK rank. So for example, Tesla's rank is 1. It's their highest conviction fund, right? So if I go down and I find Tesla again, 1 second, there's a lot of, so Tesla, right? What I can see is its rank is 1 and its change is 0. It has not changed rank ever. It's always been their -- 1 position as long as I've been recording, right? ARK rank of 1, right? So we can see that they have Tesla in 3 funds: ARKK, which is the red bars, ARKW, which is the green bars, and ARKQ, which is like the cyan light blue bars, right? So the idea behind this dashboard is to quickly be able to answer questions about stocks that ARK holds and funds that ARK holds them in, right? So we can have a meaningful discussion about ARKG and all of the stocks that are unique to ARKG and all of the stocks that are not unique to ARKG. So all the yellow bars that are yellow only, as well as all the bars that have some yellow in them, but are also in other funds. And so that's the idea behind this dashboard, is to be able to just quickly visualize changes in data to make our own, opinions about maybe any stocks that we care about buying, selling, holding, what have you. The last piece of this puzzle before I stop and I answer questions using this dashboard is what I'm calling the Cathie indicator. In a recent interview, Cathie said that she had 33 positions at the March bottom of last year for ARKK. That's when she spent all of her cash-like positions in ARKK to buy her highest conviction stocks at the lowest price, right? So consolidated the fund into only her highest conviction positions. So the further away ARKK is from that number, 33, 34, 35, whatever you think it is now based on how much that fund has grown since then, the more cash-like positions Cathie may be holding. And I'm being, I'm using words like may because I don't work for ARK and I'm not sure, right? So, but as that number fluctuates, goes up and down, we can at least ask ourselves meaningful questions about our own cash positions. Hey, ARKW had 57 stocks in it. It now has 54. Cathie has started spending some of her cash in ARKW. should I do the same, right? Should I be looking at AI stocks, internet stocks, online companies, with that sort of focus, the ARKW focus, Shopify, Netflix, Tesla, etc., and buying those companies, right? So all this is saying is let's look at cash positions across different platforms of innovation so that we can reflect on our own cash positions in times of increased volatility and make meaningful decisions. It's just a gut check. It's not supposed to be a spend your cash now button. It's just it's an easy way to remember, oh yeah, I got to be thinking about my own cash. Great. Let me answer some questions related to that. Can we talk about when we're buying the dip using the Cathie indicator? Yes. So very specifically, as the number of stocks in a fund go down, right? And I apologize, this is small. So what you're hopefully seeing here is a table of 5 stocks and then 6 numbers next to each one. Those are the last 6 trading days. And at the end of each day, how many stocks were being held in that fund, right? So Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday, and the Friday before that. So you have week by week, and you have all the days in between, Friday to Friday. And tomorrow it'll be the same, but Tuesday, it'll be it'll be Monday to Monday, right? And Wednesday, it'll be Tuesday to Tuesday, and so on, right? So always the last 6 trading days. And what you're looking for is if there's a sharp decrease in the Cathie indicator, she's spent cash. She's spending money, which means she thinks that area or those bundles of stocks she's buying are near the bottom, right? They're close to her ideal price targets. She's going to see outsized gains by buying them at that price. When the Cathie indicator goes up, she's spreading her money out to hold more cash because she can't hold actual cash, right? She's an active fund manager. She has to be fully invested. That's one of the rules of actively managing an ETF and taking money for it is, hey, you have to invest people's money. So what's happening as I cover the indicator because I'm bad at this, is we're looking for changes in that indicator. So what's a very good example? Let me clear the dashboard and just show you ARKW, right? ARKW's indicator, you can see it was last Friday, so not this most recent day, 57 stocks in the fund. This Friday, 54. Cathie has spent some money. That's what that tells us. So we are using the Cathie indicator. I'm answering Oliver's question now, to know when Cathie feels she may be buying the dip, right? And then maybe we should consider looking at our cash and doing the same. If you look at ARK's big ideas, it starts off by talking about AI, data centers. I apologize. I will get good at this one day. If you look at ARK's big ideas, it starts off by AI, data centers, GPUs, video games, and not Tesla. That screams NVIDIA, just saying. You are absolutely right. NVIDIA is one of those companies that's central to the convergence, right? GPUs play a huge role in every industry and every section of AI for sure. And we can prove that. Let's look at the data, right? So if I show all the funds and then I go try to find NVIDIA, right? I am going to, of course, not find it easily. So let me see if I can be smart about finding it. How does the alphabet work? NVIDIA, right? Find it here. Let's see if she's been buying or selling NVIDIA. So she's been selling it. So NVIDIA to her is a fairly cash-like position. My guess is, it's a big, stable company right now. It's definitely a giant by now. So she's holding it. And she's selling it at a fair price to make room for another stock, right? And if I find NVIDIA here, we can see it's in 3 different funds. We can see that NVIDIA is in ARKW, ARKF, and ARKQ today. And its overall rank, it's the 65th biggest holding in ARK overall, and it's near the bottom-ish of all of the funds except ARKQ, which is their smallest fund. So using I'm just trying to use the dashboard to get you guys in the habit of asking more specific, like, oh, what do we think about NVIDIA, right? Well, it's in almost every fund, so it's central to the convergence. It's not in ARKK, so it seems to be a lower conviction play. And they've been selling out of it, so it's being used maybe as a cash-like position. Do we know Do we know how much cash ARK holds and how much ARK has bought over the last week? Great question. So what we can do is we can unclick this and we can look at, in my opinion, what are the stocks that they've been selling the most? And that's what the bottom of this table shows us. So this table is colored by change in shares, but it's ordered by change in rank. And that's because there's two ways of thinking about ARK Invest, in my opinion, right? The first is, let's look at the number of shares they sold. They don't control the price. They just control the shares. So that's what the colors do. And then let's look at how that's changed the position on this global bar chart to understand relative conviction changes. That's the ARK rank change. So what you're seeing here is a bunch of companies have been sold, a lot of stocks being sold, right? So NVIDIA being one of them, the one we were just talking about. Morgan Stanley is just dollars. So this is just USD, the little amount of cash that they do hold. FLIR Systems, this is a result of Teledyne buying FLIR. But then Rockwell Automation, Taiwan Semiconductor, and Google are three, what I would claim are big cash positions because they didn't change much in price, but ARK sold a lot of stock. So they sold stock to get money to buy other companies that dipped. Which companies did they buy? That's the top of the table, right? So they spent their cash on, if we sort by number of shares, descending, we can see all of the stocks that they bought the most shares of. They changed their position percentage by, right? So this is the other half of the question. So they bought a lot of, A1, One Life Healthcare, Berkeley Lights, they've been loading up for week and weeks, Skills Gaming, right? Vuzix, that's that smart glass company, Zoom, Butterfly. So Zoom could be a play based on, the new strain of the pandemic coming over from Europe. Hey, people are going to be teleworking for a long time, maybe even more so. So loading up again, starting with that vision. What problems are these stocks solving? What is a good price to buy them at, right? Answering those two questions together is how they're coming to these decisions, in my opinion. Great question. What stocks are in the most funds? In other words, which companies are leveraging the most sectors of innovation? Great question. All we have to do for that is look at this bar chart, and we can ask that question in two ways. We can say, we know here's a special thing about ARKK. There's no unique stocks in ARKK. If I only show you ARKK, everything goes gray, right? And that's because ARKK holds stocks that are in other funds only, right? So let me just bring down this question for a second so you can see the whole bar chart. Sorry, the whole heat map is unselected. So what I like to do to answer questions like this, it's a great question, is unselect ARKK and just look at the colors of the bars in the other funds, right? This is going to be the answer to Mr. Sharp's question. What stocks are in the most funds? So you can only be in a total of 4 other funds, right? So I would argue that anything more than 3 or more is great, right? So Teladoc is in 3 funds, right? It's central to the convergence. It's bringing together healthcare, artificial intelligence, right? Pretty much everything you can think of, maybe except blockchain. Tesla is in 2 other funds, right? So another big piece of the puzzle. All the yellow bars are only in ARKG, genomics, right? So pretty specific. And then, JD, so this is going to be like e-commerce, but also logistics, right? Amazon, we can expect to be in multiple funds. Tencent represents multiple funds. And we can go down the list. Here's NVIDIA. It's in every single fund except genomics. And I'm sure it could be in genomics as a, enablement technology, right? Because GPUs enable protein folding, just like they enable other sectors of artificial intelligence. And we can just keep going down the list. And so the more multicolored this bar chart, the bar of that stock is, the closer I would believe is to the center of the convergence. And the higher, the longer the bar, the more money ARK has in it, the more they should believe it's actually central to the convergence, not just operating in that space, right? So we can find some pretty small, low-colored bars, right? And so that would be more reflective of, hey, this is a good technology, but it's either new or whatever. It's not, we're not confident enough to have a big stake in it relative to our other positions. So the real central companies are going to be the big bars with the most colors: Tencent, Tesla, Teladoc, NVIDIA, JD, so on and so forth, right? So see how quickly we're able to answer these really high level vision questions with the data. That's what I'm trying to illustrate about this framework. Data driven, also vision driven. It's a big feedback loop. Great question. I think what we all want to know is at the start or the end of tech sell-off. Yeah, so is this a macro trend for week and months? So I listened to the last In the Know with Cathie Wood. You know, I'm not her. I'm just doing the best I can to interpret what she's saying. I think this is part of a bigger rotation to safety. So it's a rotation out of growth and into value. How long that rotation goes really just depends on the market, depends on stimulus, depends on money printing, depends on a lot of things, right? Interest rates, so on and so forth. The question shouldn't be, when is the start or the end of this rotation? The question should be, what are you going to do while we're in it? My opinion is you should go clarify your own investment thesis on your favorite companies. Just be like, whoa, how low would I buy these stocks for? How high would I sell these stocks for? Et cetera, et cetera. And make use of the rotation while it exists to shore up your positions, shore up your cash position, right? Like double check that you still believe in all the stocks you hold, update your watch list, right? All those things. This is a great time to be actively participating in the market, right? Does that make sense? So I don't know if it's a week or a month or a year. I'm telling you to go figure out how to make the most of the opportunity while it's in front of you, right? This could be a big sale in a bull market, or it could be a top in a bear market. But, you know, a lot of stocks are changing price, and the companies underneath them haven't undergone changes to validate that, right? So it's a mispriced opportunity in the market. I don't know about sane, but I like the rest of this comment. If a company represents less than 1% of a company, can we see those as non-positions? This is a really good question, right? So I assume I'm just going to clarify what I think your question is. If they have less than 1% of a portfolio weight in this company, that is like in the fund, can we consider it a non-position? In my opinion, no. In my opinion, somebody has made a decision somewhere that this is worthy of being in an ARK fund, and they've weighted accordingly. So whether that's just an entry-level position or they're holding it as cash or whatever, there's a reason every stock is in an ARK fund. And just to be clear, a less than 1% position can still be a lot of money, right? So I will say that some of these smaller positions might be doing some sort of funky math, you know, with the help of computers and models and all that, to manage risk in different ways, whether that's acting as cash or, you know, finding some stock that doesn't correlate to the rest of the market or whatever we, you know, you can imagine they have access to all this amazing data and information that we can only guess at. But something about that stock is worth being in the fund it's in, or else it wouldn't be there. So maybe, you know, one thing I would say instead, Joe, is maybe the right approach is the more weighted it is in a fund, the more you should consider it. The less weighted it is in a fund, the more you should like research it once, go read the investor presentation, and hey, maybe it's a stock that you really like and you're getting in before ARK makes a big position in it, right? And all those YouTube videos come out that are like, oh, ARK just bought $75 billion in, you know, Vuzix, right? And it's like, whoa, I've been holding that since they started holding, right? I don't know what SWT.L is, so if you want to clarify that in the comments, I will look for it. ARK owns 15% of NVTA. I don't think this company gets enough coverage. Genome sequencing, AI, robotics, total winner. I agree. I will cover it when I talk about the bottom of the big ideas list, right? So, you know, long read genome sequencing and all that kind of stuff. So we'll get there. We will cover all of ARK's big ideas on ticker symbol U, and then we will see the stocks that reflect them on ticker symbol live. This is a great question. I don't have access to their data from like 2+ years ago. If somebody has access to ARK's historic data, please let me know. I'm happy to throw it in this dashboard and visualize it and share it with everyone if I get it. Like, I won't keep that for myself because somebody has to give that to me. So I will visualize it for the world in this for free, put it up online, and show any trends that I find if somebody gets me access to the historic data. I've invested in 5 ARK funds. I have faith in her research. Give her time. She won't disappoint you. Have in fact increased my shares in ARKK and ARKW. This is great. And so let me just clarify something too. ARK Invest has a 5-year time horizon. 5 years, right? I'm bad at math, but that's 20 fiscal quarters, right? So they have a long time for their vision to pan out, and they clarify and refine their own vision through big ideas, analyst research, white papers, etc. Right? So like 5 years, very different than traditional quarter-by-quarter analysts looking at back data, right? Revenues, profits, and then trying to form a line, fit a line to project forward, right? So not only should you give her time, her funds demand you give her time because they have a 5-year time horizon to pan out. That's part of the financial product you're purchasing when you buy anything ARK related, is that 5-year time horizon. Thank you. I strive to be entertaining and somewhat informative. Have you open sourced the dashboard? I have Tableau and would like to play with it. I have not. That's one of those differentiators of the channel. So, right now you have to get that right here. I am toying around with the idea of publishing it on Tableau Public for people to buy in and be able to have access as it updates and all that. But right now I'm just enjoying building it and sharing it with you. This is a great comment. I want to call this out. I think this is super important. It's so important we're putting the dashboard away for a second. 5 years is too long for me. That's great. Knowing that about yourself is important, and being truthful about what you're expecting out of the market and when is fundamental to being a good investor. So MS is doing it the smart thing. He's being truthful about what he's looking for out of the market and when he's looking for it, and investing accordingly, right? So the only thing I'll say is, if 5 years is too long for you, then maybe the ARK products aren't the things you want to be holding, knowing that that 5-year time horizon is so crucial to their thesis, right? They're not bad products. Your investment vision isn't wrong for not being 5 years, but there's a misalignment between the product and your vision. And knowing that may affect your investment decisions. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, not liking ARK for a specific reason is totally fine. Still taking away lessons about their stock picks, thinking about the future, using their investment framework for your time horizon is totally legit, right? You should take this framework and make it your own. So I always appreciate comments like this because it's investors coming to grips with what they think about the market. And that's all this channel is about, right? Like, how do you think ARK is using the 5 platforms themselves as an investment firm? So I think they're on the cutting edge of everything they can be at. Like, for example, ARK's analyst Tasha Keeney, who plays a central role in Tesla's evaluation, right? Her work in autonomous mobility is fundamental to ARK's investment thesis on Tesla. I wouldn't be surprised if every chance she gets, she's looking at Teslas, understanding, the developments in FSD, working with people that are analyzing it from the AI side or the electric vehicle side, thinking about batteries, learning about all that stuff. I think that all the ARK analysts live and breathe their technologies to the extent they can, right? And as a result, they formed this multidisciplinary, that same feedback loop, and their bottom-up approaches using products, touching products, understanding products, looking at competitors, talking to competitors, right? Like, the same stuff that we should be doing, right? It's like if you invest in Apple, like, this isn't an Apple phone, but pretend I'm holding one and I'm cool. You should be invested in Apple and then use their products and be like, hey, I like this. I don't like this. I think this is going to change. I think that, right? Like that's where those two things align, right? Is like, you know, your vision for what Apple is doing for the future and how you're actually using their products today, right? So that, sorry, that's a roundabout answer, but hopefully that's satisfactory. Did you consider excluding ARKK from your ARK rank metric? No. And I'll tell you why. This is an excellent question. I appreciate this kind of question. The reason not to do this is because ARKK heavily influences the rank, right? This, I believe ARKK as the flagship portfolio, let me go up and we'll just include ARKK again, is how Cathie chooses to weight her convictions, right? So whatever the pure play fund that it's in, whatever, right? Like how those act relative to pure play, ARKK ties the rest of the funds together. So by discluding them, discluding ARKK, you're taking out a big weighing factor from a fund that is conviction weighted and is managed by Cathie Wood. So I think you're doing yourself a disservice by discluding the biggest fund. The reason to disclude that fund is because of what we were looking at earlier. Hey, which stocks represent the most different technologies? Now ARKK doesn't help answer that question. Now you look at their pure play ETFs and you go, okay, which stocks are in the most pure play thematic ETFs, right? So that's when I would disclude ARKK. Great question. We've seen this over and over throughout history. The bottom line, either hunker down and ride it out, or better yet, keep buying and average down. In my opinion, I'm not a financial advisor, but this is exactly what I'm doing. I have clarified my own investment framework, and as a result, I am buying the dip on the companies that I am increasingly confident in. When my confidence goes up while the price goes down, that's a buying opportunity to me. When the price goes up and my confidence goes down, that's a selling opportunity to me. When my confidence goes down and the price goes down, I do nothing. And when my confidence goes up, when my confidence does not go up, but the price goes up, I do nothing. So that's the little 2x2 thing that I use to like inform my decisions. Hi, can you please explain the last column? How do I read this information with the positive and negative signs? Trader Queen, great question. I apologize for not making the signs clear up front. The number one rank holding, let me get my ginger face out of here. The number one rank holding is Tesla. So as stocks lose numbers, right, as they go from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1, they are losing numbers, which means they are approaching 1. So the lower the rank, the better, with 1 being the best. When stocks drop in rank, that is, they move away from 1, the numbers become positive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The further away from 1 a stock is in rank, the further away they are from Tesla's level of conviction. Does that make sense? So rank 1, largest amount of money. Rank 155 or so, right? 163, 164, 165. So adding to your rank, you are losing conviction. Decreasing your rank, you are increasing conviction because you are moving up like a golf score to rank 1. Great question. Sorry for not clarifying. Instead of using stock rank within fund, would you consider showing top 10 as % AUM or another benchmark of ARK's market sentiment? Yeah, absolutely. So this is a great question. I should clarify that as well. And I appreciate all these great questions because they're things I need to refine for future live streams, right? I use the metric overall, not within the fund. You'll see that this is the change in ARK rank. There's no change in ETF rank here because I believe exactly what this comment by Boggy Golfer is saying. So the top 10 as % AUM is literally these top 10 stocks, right? Zoom is rank 11. So every company around above Zoom, this is ordered by total combined dollars invested by ARK. This is the special thing about this dashboard is in the back end, it combines all 5 of their funds and it looks at them as one fund. Again, the only reason I can do that or even claim to be able to do that is because all 5 are managed by Cathie Wood and all 5 follow the same scheme for weighting, conviction weighting. So literally the same human being is the fund manager on all of these funds and is managing them the same way. That's the reason I'm doing this, right? Clever, maybe. The right way to do it, maybe, right? Like, I don't work for ARK, and this is my best honest guess about what's going on, right? So grain of salt, right? I will always show comments like this on these live streams. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your support. Tesla is always at a bottom. That's fair. Like, if your price target for, let's say your price target for Tesla is Cathie Wood's price, which is $4,000, right? I believe that's pre-split, so now $800. $800 price target. What was the price as of market close? Let's go find it. So I'm going to go change in ARK rank. I'm just going to sort by ARK rank, you know, and then I'm going to go down to the bottom. I found Tesla. Tesla is currently at $600, right? That's what it closed at on Friday. If your price target's 800 and 600, you know, what should you be doing? Are you invested in NEO? If so, what's your price target by year end? I am invested in NEO, but I don't do price targets. That's not how I operate. I look at what NEO is doing today, what I think they should be doing tomorrow, and if anyone is going to catch up to them in the Chinese market. That's super important because the Chinese market is fairly nationalistic, right? Like, people there like things that are, you know, Chinese owned and operated. Do you think there is a competitor to NEO in the Chinese market, again, besides Tesla? Because Tesla and NEO operate very differently. They're not, people call them direct competitors. I'll never understand why. They both make things on wheels, I guess. Like, NEO makes NEO Life and NEO Lifestyle products in houses and services, right? They have a battery swapping technology in addition to charging. They're Chinese owned and operated, right? Tesla, fundamentally different from NEO. Very big room for both of them in a giant EV market. What will be the biggest EV market in the world, which is the Chinese market. No reason to compare Tesla to NEO instead of realizing they're both going to be outsized winners and just holding both stocks. I'm dying to know what the end of the sentence is. In the end, your success is measured by how you... That's not the end. It can't be the end. You didn't finish the sentence. Oh, here we go. In the end, your investments behave how you behave. This is an excellent observation. A couple of videos ago, I talked about the investor gap. The investor gap is how much you under or overperform the results of your own holdings, right? That's this. I completely agree with this. And so this channel has 2 purposes, right? I mean, it really has one: vision-based, data-based approach, right? That framework. But if you stick to that framework, I believe you will increase your behavior as an investor. You'll make it better, which means you'll decrease that investor gap and maybe even flip it so you're outperforming your own stocks. Cathie Wood, incredible investor, outperforms her own stocks. That's why she actively manages her funds, right? Because she gets gains beyond their increase in the market by playing around volatility. Volatility is an active part of ARK's strategy. So volatile markets are not bad for ARK. Just because their asset prices go down, all they're doing is buying the ones that they think are outsized winners at low prices. So their minimum hurdle rate of return is going up, right? All that means is they're buying stocks they were already convicted in because of their research at better prices. So they're expecting higher returns now because the prices are lower, right? Like, you know, so I bet Cathie thinks that this is a blessing. I think she's super pumped about this rotation out of tech because it's not based on any fundamental technological reason. My opinion, that's not, Cathie didn't tell me that, right? Like, I apologize. I'm a slow reader in the chat. I'm right now, I'll look for a few more dashboard related questions. And if I don't see any, we can just shoot the breeze about investing in general. I'm happy to do both. We looked at these comments. Why own NEO if you could own Tesla? Because they're doing two totally different things, right? Like you're diversifying your portfolio, right? So there's two things to think about when you're investing, right? Can you pick the winners, and how sure are you that those are the only winners, right? A good portfolio is one, in my opinion, that has great returns in lots of different sectors, right? They're not super correlated, right? The reason for that is because if all your money goes up and down at the same time, then when you spot another opportunity, but all your money is down, that kind of stinks, right? And you can't guarantee that that opportunity is in a favorable sector or whatever, right? You can't guarantee anything about that opportunity. So if you can find a way to keep your returns the same, but decrease your risk, which just means decreasing the amount by which your portfolio goes up and down every single day, right? Like you've only done yourself a service, right? Because you have the same predicted return, but you're less volatile, right? Or you're volatile in different ways. So why own NEO if you could buy Tesla? It's to do what I just said. It's to say, I'm picking two winners in EV instead of one because their stocks don't perfectly mirror each other. And now I'm holding two winners, and when one is getting beat up, I can sell one to buy the other. I can hold both. You're giving yourself more options, right? Like it's the same reason no portfolio should be one stock. It's like, that's great when Tesla's up. When Tesla's down, it's like, what? You just like quit the market until Tesla's back up, right? Hey, if this is part of your investment thesis, then you know what companies to buy and not buy, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you about your worldviews and about the companies you choose. And if that's, if the nation is a factor of the companies you choose, cool. Like that's a valid filter. It's not a filter for me. I personally own, including NEO, plenty of Chinese named companies. And they have performed very well for me. My cost basis for NEO is something like $13, I believe this is Lucid Motors. Lucid Motors to me is not an interesting company, not because they're not a good company, but because they're basically a second Tesla and they're never going to catch the first Tesla. So it's like, this is one I agree with. It's like, why would I ever hold Lucid when I can hold Tesla? They do the same. If somebody could explain to me what makes Lucid different from Tesla, then I'm interested. But my understanding is they're just a Tesla that's behind actual Tesla. I don't know how to point, sorry. If you believe this, you shouldn't be buying ARK products. If you believe this is a dip in a 5-year time horizon and that this is only true because the market is sinking, you should have a very different opinion, right? Like this is a non-nuanced opinion, right? That is fair. It's a valid market opinion, but it's not one that I think is going to play out in the market. Let me put it that way. This person is faster than me at responding to comments. Yeah, you know what? I do. That's ticker symbol is PKKFF, I believe. I've been in that stock for a little while. There are people on my research team on the back end here. I'm fortunate enough to have one of those now, who have helped me and showed me the light on that stock. I'm in it for a long time though. Like it's solving a hard problem in the fintech space, specifically in the Chinese market, right? Which is matching lenders to lendees, right? Vendors and lenders. It's Tinder for lenders and vendors instead of people looking for dates, right? So hard problem to solve. They're making some big partnerships. It's going to take a long time for them to get that recurring revenue in place. I'm in it for that. I'm super happy to be holding that stock. PKKFF. Lots of great. Do you see my super chat? So first of all, I apologize if you've been super chatting me. I'm using something called StreamYard, and I'm not so sure that it shows super chats. So if I should figure that out. So A, I apologize if you've been super chatting me. B, NNDM is a great company. So if you could repeat your question, I will look for it. I apologize for not catching your super chat. Let me quickly scroll up here and make sure I didn't miss like a million of them. What that tells me is I need to start keeping YouTube open. Sorry, I don't know how to catch super chats, so I will look for it on the back end. And now I can't even find who said that. I totally messed this up, huh? Crypto crackhead, that's what I'm looking for. Excellent. Palantir, great question. Let's look it up. I already know the answer to this question, which is why I'm very happy it got asked. If I scroll all the way, I will flip this to make it descending. And I look at the positions that ARK has been buying the most, right? Palantir is some that has been bought the most. The interesting thing about Palantir versus all of these other companies is Palantir's price didn't change week over week much. I know it had a dip and it came back, but ARK increased their stake in it massively. I think Palantir is a long-term play for ARK. This is not a cash position. This is something that ARK is buying because they have increased conviction in data analytics and artificial intelligence for large government applications and large industrial applications and large hard tasks, which Palantir is handling. So my thoughts on Palantir are starting to mirror ARK's. And what I mean by that is I used to not care about Palantir. It's like data analytics company, big data. I get it. Million companies do that. My background is in that, right? To me, nothing was special about Palantir on the surface. But ARK Invest found a lot of great, cool, interesting things about how Palantir solves problems, right? So I read their investor relations report and I started reading about Palantir instead of just being like, oh, whatever. And now I'm starting to agree with Palantir. I hold a little bit of Palantir, certainly not as much as ARK Invest, right? But it's like, that's a result of something testing and challenging my investment thesis on a company and me going, whoa, wait a minute, let me make sure I've clarified my investment thesis. And then my thesis is slowly changing, right? So my thoughts on Palantir, I'm increasingly more and more bullish on Palantir, starting from a not very bullish position, right? So I'm happy to admit when I'm wrong. That's the whole idea of the channel, right? And I'm going to be wrong, by the way. I'm going to be wrong very often, but we'll see how wrong. The importance isn't, if you're wrong by a little, cool. If you're wrong by a lot, then it's like, hey, maybe your vision of the future is incorrect, right? Whew, comments are going fast. I believe this is your comment. I thought I caught this last time. So let me address NNDM specifically then, because I think my previous one might have been on 3D printing in general. NNDM solves a very hard problem in an interesting way. That problem is they print circuit boards, they 3D print circuit boards, right? And that's being super like simplistic about what they do. But they take a very challenging multi-step, multi-chemistry, right, multi-material process, and they do it all in one 3D printer, right? So they can 3D print whole prototypes in one board at once, which does really important things like change the way like little computers dissipate heat or reduce the lag from connectors by making them physically closer together because they can do that in the manufacturing process. And all these other things that are like materials related and semiconductor related and things I only understand at the surface. NNDM is solving problems that are cross-sector, cross-industry, cross-geography, cross-whatever. No-brainer stock for ARK Invest, right? Like it's solving problems fundamental to anything because it can 3D print anything, right? Like within reason, like any electronic, right? So I think this is a great stock. I don't understand its total addressable market. The thing I don't understand is like how many companies will really use NNDM at scale versus how many companies will use NNDM to really refine a prototype before using something else to print it, like for the final product. That's not a hit against NNDM. That is the reason I don't invest in it, is because even though I believe in that vision strongly, it's not clear to me what the scalability of that idea is. It could be super high and I just don't understand. But because I don't understand, I don't invest in it. That's not a hit against the stock. That's me not understanding as an investor, right? I think this is the future. I think energy recycling, I guess I can do this, right? Energy recycling, specifically battery recycling, is going to be a huge market. And more broadly, remanufacturing, right? So I'm blanking on his first name. I think his last name is JB Straubel. He was the CTO of Tesla. He now owns Redwood Recycling. I hope I'm not butchering that too bad. I probably am. I apologize. But he's big on this idea of remanufacturing, right? Taking old stuff and making new stuff out of it is going to be a trillion-dollar or multi-billion-dollar industry, right? I think lithium battery recycling is going to play a huge role in that, because there's a finite number of lithium, there's a finite number of cobalt, there's a finite number of whatever elements that make batteries that are used in everything: cars, cell phones, computers, drones, whatever, right? So it's like those things are becoming increasingly important. So recapturing them when they're out of their usefulness to make new batteries is going to be increasingly important. So when I think of energy recycling, I specifically think of battery recycling. I'm sure you can make the case for like hydrogen battery recycling, but I don't know anything about hydrogen batteries, so I have no idea how they would be recycled. Answered this already, so I'm going to skip it. I mostly believe this. So one thing I'll say is don't bet against Cathie Wood long term, right? Short term, we're seeing people bet against her, right? Like things are rotating out of tech and into value, right? Like they're rotating out of growth and into value, I should say. So short-term bets against Cathie Wood are playing out. But like when Jim Cramer says, Cathie, close your funds, it's like, dude, you have no idea what you're talking about. Like, I would love to be a guest on Squawk Box one day and just be like, where do these insane comments come from? It's like, technology is no brainer, the future, you know, things dip. That doesn't mean close your funds, right? Like, Black Sky. Sorry, on my end, the comments are going pretty fast, so I'm trying to read one in there. Great. Yes, JB Straubel is the CEO of Redwood. Good call. And he used to be the CTO of Tesla. That's the important part. So he understands batteries not just from a recycling perspective and a manufacturing perspective. He understands them from the electric vehicle perspective. Electric vehicles, I believe, are the primary driver in battery cost reduction because they're the primary driver in battery cost production, right? So what that means is he intimately understands the whole life cycle of the battery, specifically for cars, which is a big application. So he's in a good position to be commenting on how they should be recycled, right? That's not obvious if I believe you don't understand that he's also the ex-CTO of literally Tesla Motors, right? Like, probably not. That guy looks pretty strong. I don't think I would take him at all. Yes. So I'm a big believer in being on the cutting edge of advanced technology. I would definitely take part in the FSD beta program if I owned a Tesla. I don't own one because I don't know if you could tell, but I'm a regular person who can't afford a Tesla. Lots of stuff going on in the chat. I think this is a really interesting question. Jim Cramer used to manage a hedge fund. He used to be very successful. He's a smart guy. He is still very successful. I'm not sure what's going on with him and Cathie. Like he shifts with the wind. He loves Cathie. He hates Cathie. you know, the ARK funds are awesome. Cathie, you should close your funds. Inflows, outflows, which isn't a thing for ETFs. Like, but Jim Cramer's a smart dude, right? Like, so I don't know why. Like, there's this weird thing going on in the news and in politics and in finance media where very, really smart people, right? Jim Cramer's a smart guy, are saying things that just do not, you know, no person who's been in the space for more than a minute, like, would say these things, right? It's like, you know, Cathie Wood doesn't manage a mutual fund or a hedge fund, right? Like she does, sorry, the ARK products, let me rephrase that. The ARK products are not those things. They're ETFs. So like, what does that mean, close your fund? Like, I don't understand what those words even mean in that sentence. It's an ETF. You can't close it. Like, so I think it is coming from a place of like, maybe jealousy is the wrong word, but like, you know, brand devaluation or something, right? He's just saying it to get clicks and, you know, whatever. So solid state batteries are really interesting, right? I'm not sure how I feel about solid state battery technology, not that it's a bad idea, but it's like how feasible, how mature is that technology going to be versus what we have today, which is based on, you know, Tesla's batteries are based on consumer batteries, right? So they're like basically hot gluing in cell phone batteries. I'm super exaggerating like how simple that is. It's not simple at all, but they're riding on the back of consumer electronics energy sources, right? Solid state batteries being built from the ground up, you know, they have a lot of like hoops they're going to have to go through, which means, you know, who knows what kind of battery limits regular batteries might be able to surpass by then in terms of energy density and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not really sure about solid state batteries. Not, again, just because it's like the technology seems to be, you know, it's not like solid state drives versus, you know, disk drives. I don't think that's where we're at with batteries. I could be wrong, but I don't see the overall like gumption to move to solid state so fast. Yeah, this is something that definitely scares me. I'm a big believer in SPCE. I like Chamath a lot. I thought that he was super pumped to be part of SPCE. We should clarify this comment. What do you think about Chamath selling completely out of SPCE? He didn't. He sold his personal stake, if I understand correctly. He still has a lot of investment in it through either social capital or like some other things, right? Whatever his other financial ties are to that company. I believe he sold his personal stake. And my understanding from what he said is that he sold it to, you know, shore up cash for other investments. So he might think it's at a local top. He might think it's going to go back down. He might buy in later. You know what I mean? Like, I think this is one of those messy situations where it's like, what did he actually sell? Why? And at what cost basis and all that stuff, right? Like, but the headline certainly stinks. Like, you know, as a guy who's been in SPCE for a while and has not sold a single share ever, yeah, it wasn't fun to hear and read that. Are you bullish on lithium-ion companies like BMIX and LLKKF, which is like resources, trading penny stocks? Since Elon is looking for these types of companies. Oh, I think that's supposed to say since Elon. No, not because I'm not bullish on them, but because I'm not more bullish on them than some of the names I already hold. My portfolio is about 10 positions. My portfolio size is well into the six figures. And all I'm sorry, that's not a flex. What I'm pointing out is I hold a very low number of stocks with very high conviction in each of them. So for me to be increasingly bullish to the point where I would hold a company, which is what I assume like this is kind of getting at, trading penny stocks, right? I don't do that unless it meets some threshold for me really holding that stock. I don't really dip into a stock unless I'm still like researching about it. I have big positions in a small number of companies. So very different from ARK, right? Like, you know, I mean, depending on what you consider big, all of their positions are big today by dollars. But like, you know, I don't have a 0.5% position in anything. I don't have a 0.1% position in anything. The smallest position in my portfolio is 1%, right? And the biggest position in my portfolio right now is something like 28%, which is ludicrous and volatile and, my portfolio bleeds and then it feasts and famines, right? Like, so there's issues with the way I manage my money as well. Yeah, this is true. Yeah, Kramer definitely generally speaks highly of Cathie, which is why like the last clickbaity clips have been so weird, where he's like, oh, she's chasing momentum, she should close her funds and focus on ball. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? It's like she's loving the dip. She's loving it. She is probably literally spending all of her cash positions, right? And we saw that in the data. We saw her, we saw a non-consolidation. We saw like her increase her cash positions and then boom, spend it in ARKW, right? It's probably going to keep going down. Tesla's probably going to keep going down for a while and then it'll go back up, right? Like, again, short term has nothing to do with reality. Nothing has changed with Tesla, right? Like everything has changed with the market. Tesla, the company, hasn't changed. Tesla, the stock, has changed price. So now you just have to say like, hey, where's my conviction in Tesla, the company, versus its fluctuating price, and then buy in where those things, lowest price, highest conviction, that's where you should buy. I'll answer a couple more questions and then, I'll chop up this live stream and make a coherent video out of it. I don't think hydrogen is going to win out. I think the infrastructure is really solid for electric. But I'm not an expert in hydrogen cars. So, my only experience there is Nikola, which is like not where you want my advice to be coming from. So it's like, I'm going to punt on this question because I do not know. And as an investor, I encourage you to be truthful about what do you know, what do you not know. I don't know about hydrogen cars. I have zero investment in hydrogen cars. I'm big on EVs, electric vehicles specifically. Yeah, introducing a lot of liquidity into the market. We'll see if it gets priced in and where it gets priced in, right? So 1.9 trillion stimulus, right? So the thing I want to be clear about is we're seeing that and a rotation out of tech stocks, right? Will this money make it into tech stocks, or are people going to put it in value stocks, right? Well, that I'm basically asking, is the rotation going to continue out of tech, or by tech, I mean growth, sorry. Or is the stimulus going to go directly into growth? That I don't know, but I agree. Both of these things are happening: liquidity, more money entering the market, and a rotation out of growth into value. And we'll see how those two forces combine in the ocean that is the stock market. So let me ask the audience a question now. Is this format useful? Do you like me bringing up charts, talking, clicking on questions, answering them in real time? Like, help me understand, like, would you watch this part of ticker symbol U, or is this one of those things like not that valuable, good once in a while? Would you watch it every day, once a week, once a month? Help me understand like what kind of value you think this live stream is adding for you. Because my current plan, again, is every day before market open to do a much tighter version than this, right? I was hoping to make this like 30 minutes. It is now 90 minutes, but I just enjoy asking, sitting down, answering questions. Quick overview of data. Market open looks like this. Going through the charts, right? So again, tomorrow's market open will be exactly using this data, right? So I encourage you to watch because you'll get a much tighter version of this, but it's going to be looking at this, few minutes. Good luck. See you at tomorrow's market open, right? Couple yeses, couple nos, couple twice a weeks, right? If it's around the time I'll be watching, the recordings will stay up for people if they want to watch it after. Sundays, I don't plan on doing this regularly. Sundays, this is a special occasion to test everything for tomorrow. Lots of thumbs ups, couple thumbs downs, or a couple no's. That's cool. Like, totally respect that. But looks like enough people are saying yes that I should stick to it for at least a while. So that's great. I will answer a couple more questions and then I will get on out of here so I can rest up for the craziness that will be the market tomorrow. Looking for final questions. Sunday version is great. Yeah, thanks. And if we want to do longer versions on Sundays, doing a weekly recap, I'm happy to do that if there's demand for that. How are you going to play Monday morning? Open buy, or are you going to hang back until an opening? I always hang back until an opening. First thing I do, if a price opens that is a good price for me, I will buy. But what I like to do is I go to like tradingview.com or whatever, and I have certain indicators I look for, right? Like overbought, oversold, under an average, right? Like what's the, all those kind of things that people should be thinking about in real time, right? Like when you're day trading and swing trading and doing all this stuff. So I'm looking at that right at market open, right? And, maybe the live stream will evolve into me showing you how I do that. But for now, we're just going to look at ARK's data, right? And what I'm doing is I'm only looking at that for a few select stocks. What's the few select stocks? Well, what has ARK been increasingly buying these last few days? So of course, every day, right, I'm looking at this list and I'm scratching my head and I'm going, what is going on with Berkeley Lights? What's going on with Skills? What's going on with Palantir, Zoom, DraftKings, Teledyne? Down and down until some threshold where it's like, okay, I probably don't care anymore once the stocks go red. If I was looking at it from the other position, hey, I find myself holding Google, Taiwan Semiconductor, NVIDIA, NNDM, wonderful stocks, absolutely great companies, not saying anything bad about them just because they're at the bottom of this list. I should make sure I understand why I'm holding them, because Cathie Wood, somebody I really respect, is selling them, right? And that's not, again, she could just be, they are a cash position to her, right? Like, but I should clarify my own investment thesis in those companies. And that's definitely what I'm going to be doing by market open tomorrow or the next day or the next day, because if they're dropping in price, I'm going to be buying them from Cathie Wood, right? That's the trick. 4 years ago, she was buying stocks from me when I let Tesla go at 200. Today, I want to be buying them from her when she has to sell them as cash. Does that make sense? So that's my only one dig. It's like, I hope one day I could buy a stock from Cathie Wood and it's a winner, right? Like, because she's a winner at picking stocks as far as I'm concerned. This is my thoughts on the market. I don't know. Yeah, it's like it's going to be crazy. I expect it to keep going down. I expect it to personally keep going down. I expect the rotation out of growth to continue. I don't know how long. I don't know how much is down. I don't know, right? Like which tech stock specifically, I don't know, right? Like, but it seems to me that the carnage will continue for a little while, and that is a good thing if you're sitting on cash, which is why we're going to be talking a lot about managing our cash position, managing our confidence, like increasing the strength of our hands. Hey, not selling just because things are dropping, right? Because I really want to remind people of this. I'm going to stop doing all the banner stuff. Stop doing all the, I wish I could even zoom in. I don't know how to do that in real time. I'm pretty janky at this. You do not lose a single dollar until you sell a share. Not talking about options, not talking about margin. Forget all that complicated stuff, right? Simple stuff. When you buy a stock, you own a stock. Whatever dollars it's worth doesn't matter anymore. You own a piece of a company. When that price goes down, you haven't lost money. When that price goes up, you haven't gained money, right? Like it is only when you sell that you realize gains and losses. So if you bought it for a price you think is fair based on your vision of the future and your investment thesis in it, it doesn't matter that it went down, right? If you're holding cash, you can average down. If you're not holding cash, don't worry about it, right? Like same thing when it goes up. Oh, I should have bought more. Don't do that. Right? Like you bought what you bought when you bought it and you're in. Enjoy your gains, right? Money missed is always better than money lost, right? So that's the one lesson you should take away from all this. Money missed is better than money lost, because money missed, right, didn't exist. Money lost came out of your pocket, right? Lots of tickers. I'm done looking at tickers tonight. So there's your 2-minute warning. If you're like, I'm out of here if he's done talking about stocks, Thank you for watching. I appreciate you taking the time. This was a test run for tomorrow's live stream. Tomorrow's live stream and the ones on Ticker Symbol Live will be short and sweet. This is a long one just because it's Sunday. I like engaging with the community. I love hearing your questions. I love exploring ARK's data, and this is a great format to do all of those things together. So I'm going to look at a couple more market questions, not stock questions, and then I will exit stage left. Very good value on all of your content. Thank you very much. Market open live video for 10 or 20 minutes. Yeah, 20 minutes, definitely absolute max. I'm thinking like 8 minutes, 3 questions, we're done. 10-minute snapshot. The focus is I am literally going to narrate ARK's changes in data. You know what I mean? Like, here are their 3 biggest movers up. Here are their 3 biggest movers down. Here are the changes in the Cathie's indicator. Here's the biggest changes in ARK rank, right? And then it's like, if I were to research a company today, it would be this. And if I'm holding a company in this list, I would research it as well, depending on if they're buying or if they're selling. And then I'll go into a little bit of detail like, hey, they bought this company a lot, even though its price didn't go down, right? That kind of stuff, super high level, just to edge it. Hey, you're super interested in ARK and the companies they hold. Here are the biggest meaningful changes since the last market day. Only point of that live stream. We can do commentary on the side and reactions and look at Kramer clips and do all that stuff, separate live streams. By going along on Cathie Wood. This is a very informative session. I will watch daily. I appreciate that. I hope to keep the value high. Comment. I read all the comments. It's the best way for me to understand what's working and what isn't. Like, I'm not here to pump comments so that YouTube algorithm, whatever. I genuinely care about your feedback, right? If something part of this session didn't work, it was 90 minutes. If it should have been 70, let me know. If we should have gone an extra half hour, let me know. If I'm missing your super chats, let me know, right? Like, it's not fair to you when I do that. I want to be better and more engaging. I'm just new at this, right? So it's like, again, if you super chatted me and I missed it, that's on me, not on you. I apologize. I'm new to the whole system. This is the last one I'll answer because it's a good question and I'm interested. What do you think of the genomics industry? Companies like CRISPR have been down for the last 3 weeks. I'm long genomics, right? Long is the key word there. I don't think they're changing the world tomorrow. I think they're changing the world in the next 5 years, right? I think they've just started making real traction and headlines and stuff. And ARK Invest is super big into making that happen. But, you know, CRISPR won the Nobel Peace Prize, the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, not the Peace Prize, the prize in chemistry, right? Like, CRISPR is really groundbreaking, right? They're the scissors of genomics, of gene editing, right? They're the snipping tool in gene editing. That's insane. That's like an insane, like, you know, they're being able to cut and paste code and human beings are the app, right? Like, that's the coolest sentence I will ever say in my lifetime. So I'm very long on genomics for that reason. My vision of the future includes them, but that's a long distance vision of the future. And my investment thesis reflects that. I don't own much genomics. I only own ARKG, and that's because smarter people than me at ARK are doing the hard work of the research for me there. There's research I can't do. There are FDA approvals and, you know, testing and other sorts of regulatory issues and trials and blah, 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 right? Like, there's a lot of nuance to the space that I'm unequipped as an investor to handle. So I pay that 0.75% management fee for ARKG so that other people can do it for me. Great question. Oh, the chat is flying, guys. I apologize for not being able to do this. So, or to keep up that fast. Looking forward to a wild ride with your new format and more incredible information and personal interaction. Your hard work is paying up. Giddy up. Hello from across the border. And I just want to be super clear. Ticker symbol U is not changing. Ticker symbol U is staying the once a week, high production value, right? Like vision of the future, big ideas channel. Ticker symbol live is being added to that pool, and they work together with that framework I showed you earlier, right? The top loop is ticker symbol U. The bottom loop is ticker symbol live. And both loops are part of my framework, which is why you need them both together. So looking at changes in ARK's data and changes in ARK's research, because her actions or ARK's actions reflect their investment philosophy, right? Okay, last one. Is your Tableau dashboard public? Currently, no. I can make it public. You know, I don't like giving away my work for free, not because I don't like giving it away, but because what I think will happen is the link will get shared everywhere and then no one will watch me. They'll just play with the dashboard. They won't get context, right? It'll do more harm than good. And then, you know, everyone loses because you're getting the data without the context. I'm losing views because you have the data. And it's this vicious cycle of like, no, you know what I mean? We both lose. So that is my reasoning behind not publishing it, not give me money. It's I like looking at the data and adding context to it, right? Just want to say I can see you getting better at this. Hey, thank you. I'm really trying. This format is like super new to me. I've missed a whole bunch of stuff already, and I'm sure people are like, oh man, this guy's not that good. I will get better. Stick with me. I will do you justice one day. That day may not be today. The whole channel is only 4 months old, right? Like I'm not a content creator by nature. It's my first stab. I'm doing my absolute best. So I appreciate comments like this a lot because I'm pretty new. On that note, I appreciate everyone taking the time. I think there was something like 800 people in here at one point. I love that, right? I appreciate all the awesome questions. I'll throw the dashboard back up here for a second just so you can be reminded of what we're looking at on Ticker Symbol Live. Again, the idea is to explore ARK's data, their changes in holdings, to ask our own investment questions about the future, look at ARK's changes in positions, and see if we can tease out some buy-sell signals for our own investment thesis. You know, we're looking at pure play and non-pure play ETFs. We're looking at all sorts of great, interesting stuff that this dashboard allows us to look at. Cathie's cash position, changes in rank, you know, unique stocks in each fund. The list goes on and on of what this dashboard can do. And the purpose is very simple: to ask very clear questions about ARK in a way that we can use data to answer them, right? And use that as the second half of that feedback loop to clarify our own visions of the future by comparing them to changes in ARK Invest's current holdings today. Boom. I am going to leave it at that. Thank you all for coming. I will see you tomorrow right before market open on Ticker Symbol Live, and I will see you every Friday on Ticker Symbol U. This is Ticker Symbol Live. My name is Alex, reminding you that the best investment you can make is in you. Have a good night.